Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where we talk all things estate agency on a weekly basis. I am joined today by only one of my co-hosts, which is Ian Story. Ian, hello. How are you?
Hello, David. Hello, everyone.
Well?
Very well.
Are you well?
I'm very well, thank you. I've moved house this week, ironically, but only for 6 months, hopefully.
Good. What the actual plan? You were telling me about this last week.
So we moved out and we bought a house last August, knackered, bought a really nice 1930s house on a third of an acre plot in the village. Really good one. Knackered. So obviously we always plan to do it up. So we've got planning permission through. Builders start on Monday, ripping it out, ripping it all apart, new roof, everything. So we've moved into a temporary place around the corner for 5-6 months. And then we're moving back in.
Yeah, it's not. There's a few more moves going on before that, though. I think I remember you telling me. But
if Alex is listening, when Alex listens to this, she'll be crying. I'm sure she's still crying after this week. It has not been easy. We moved into my parents' house last weekend. They've gone away for a fortnight. So we're there for 2 weeks. We're going on holiday for a week. We're coming back. We're going to London for a long weekend because I've got a half marathon. So we're taking the kids down for London for 5 days. And then we're coming back. And then we're moving into the temporary place for 5 months.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I've been to your house and I think it's going to look magnificent, mate. So best of luck with it. Sadly, James Kendall can't join us today. James is not in good shape, is he? We've spoke to him. He seems to have come down with a really bad bug. So, JK, if you're listening, get well soon, mate. But one of two things is going to happen. This is either going to be the most downloaded episode of all time, in which case JK will get fired, or no one will download it. We'll know that he is the golden goose, and we'll have to offer him a new contract.
And then we're off.
And then we're off, yeah. And JK can just host it on his own. But no, seriously, get well, JK. Be good to have you back next week, mate. Okay, so first of all, Ian, how's your week been?
Well, my week has been very good. I mean, since the last podcast, the three of us had 2 days in Manchester, didn't we? Where we get together every quarter to write the quarterly content for our members. So that was great to see each other in person and to sort of get the bones of our quarterly market update letter done and discuss a few exciting things that are happening with the Complete Agent as our members start to grow even more. So that was really good. Picked up a really good instruction last Friday, a 1.5 2%. Absolute belter. Got referred by the neighbour who another 1.5 that we sold last year recommended us. That was the one where Savills didn't turn up and Jackson Stops went as well. So we got a really good result on that. And then a couple of other good ones this week from me, Instructions and Phil. Phil's had a really good run. And then I think we've agreed 6 sales in the last 5-6 days. All good. I was saying to you before we came on that, as we keep saying, the gold dust for me and you, Dave, I think, and James in estate agency is between sort of 400 grand and 1.1 at 2%. They're lovely housing stock. Generally, they sell within 6 weeks. You can impress the client, etc. We had a lady last week. This is one of the houses we've just sold, which is 650. We got over marketing price in 2 weeks. She's really happy. We delivered the brochures. We hand delivered 2 brochures to her, and she messaged saying she was crying when she opened the brochures because it's been her family home for 20 odd years. So, really nice, mate. Yeah, really, really nice. Apart from the house move, it's been great. How about you?
Fantastic. Good week, thank you. I mean, like you've just alluded to there, we had the 2 days in Manchester, which was fantastic. It's always good to do that, I think, because it's obviously good to meet up and have a bit of a laugh, as we always do. But just to get everything out of our heads onto paper, ready to write the quarterly letter that we do, I always get quite excited about that. And one of the reasons I get quite excited about it is because I just know that for the next quarter, we're going to get some really great valuations and some great results. So it's really good to do. We're still refining that. There's a lot of work goes into it, but I'm really glad that we did that. It was great. We also had, didn't we, our monthly Zoom call with our Complete Agent members, which I do really like to do, get together with them, see how they're getting on. Some of them getting some great results. And also it's nice to share some of the struggles, isn't it, as well? So some people, it's not always going well every week. So it's nice to be able to help them sort of get things back on track, which that was pretty good, wasn't it, the other day? But from a personal point of view, yeah, it's been a busy week. We've had 3 houses exchange in the last 2 days, which have been really challenging. One of them has been going on for about 6 months, I think, at the very least. Really, really lovely family making a move from over in Rosendale way, and they're going back up to Scotland, and it's just dragged on and on and on. And today we got the note that it exchanged and completed. And similar to you, Ian, I think there were a few tears on the phone. Just absolutely delighted. I couldn't be more delighted for this family. They deserve it, and it's always nice, isn't it? You forget that the emotional side of our job, you're actually helping people move house and onto the next stage of their life, as cheesy as it sounds. So Pauline, my superstar negotiator, she's done a great job on that, and she actually asked for it. She was off today, and she said, "Please, will you ring me if that goes through?"
Yeah.
And Kate delivered the news to before, and I could hear her on the end of the phone, genuinely delighted for this client.
That's great.
And also, Kate equally had another one that's been really challenging. We've had 2 in the chain, and that's gone dragged on and on and on, all sorts of problems, and she got that over the line this week. So another great result. So really pleased with those 2. Got a great instruction as well. And also, one that really, really pleased me was, and this just goes to show, obviously, keep sending the letters, but also your wider marketing mix, make sure you're in front of the camera, things like that. I did a valuation. It's been on the market with another agent, and I went in, and it was quite strange, really. She was visibly delighted to see me, and just like, as if like she knew me. She said, "I feel like I know you. I've been watching a lot of your content and your videos."
Yeah, excellent.
She was very complimentary about it. And when I was going through my sort of an overview of the services and how we're going to look after and things like that, obviously I always add in at the end, because we are a low volume, sort of higher fee agent. I said we don't take on every house. I only work with small numbers of clients. She interjected and said, "I really hope you'll take us on."
Yeah.
And I thought, that's really great.
We get that.
I thought, right, that's great. That's really good to know that. And she's since followed up and said what a pleasure the valuation was. Almost like she's been interviewed and really wants the job.
Yeah. Brilliant. Mate, that is an attraction agent. That's what Tom Panos would call it. That's excellent. We get quite a few where we go to them and we say, they say, I'm not sure. We weren't sure if this was the right sort of house for you. I think, that's great branding. That is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So that was nice to hear that, in a way, a nice compliment. So good week. But I did last week, I did 7 take-ons.
Brilliant.
And there was one day where I did 3 in a day.
Wow.
And obviously, think about the lengths that we go to with the home styling setup. And then the photography, the videography, me having to go to each house to do all my speaking parts, twilight shoots.
Yeah,
it was so challenging.
I bet.
Obviously, the twilight shoots, we're having to go back to a couple of them, but such a long day. But it's great.
We don't go to every twilight shoot. I mean, we go to them as and when we can. And it'd be nice if you could go to every one, but the photographer goes to a lot of them. Obviously the photographer goes to all of them. I was going to say something then, because obviously I gave quite a positive review of my week, and it has been positive on the whole, but there was one thing that happened today which just reminded me, just sort of leveled me really, which is that I went to see this lady back in January. She's got another barn conversion, which was on at 785. It was a good 70 grand over what it should have been. We had a conversation. She hadn't heard from her agent since before Christmas, yada, yada, yada. Went really well. Anyway, this guy would not let her out of her contract. It took her so long to get her out of her contract. It's a joke. But I was in touch with her and I spoke to her and it got on really well. And she was like, yeah, we are doing it. We want to go ahead, but just can't get out of the contract. And I was like, okay, keeping in touch with her, like you do, keeping all calm and nice. And anyway, I saw it go off Rightmove last week. I thought, brilliant. She's finally managed to get it off Rightmove. She hasn't replied to me. And then today it's gone up with another agent.
No.
For 700. I was like, fucking, you're joking me. Because the amount of conversations I've had with her, and she's just not told me, obviously got someone else in, photographed it. She must have photographed it the similar sort of time she was speaking to me. And then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you do get that. Yeah, I think I've had one similar, mate. I told you, didn't I? A couple of weeks ago, I went to a property. It's received about 4 letters from us. I remember being on the phone to me on a Friday night for half an hour, through tea time. You know, I could hear the family downstairs. I'm on the phone half an hour to him on a Friday night, going through everything. He was very impressed, and then put the phone down. I'm thinking that's nailed on. But the advice was actually stick at it for a few weeks. You know, you've got a 4-week cool off period anyway. You've got 2 options. You could take it off, or you could stick with it. So he's like, no, I really appreciate your honest advice. So he did that, and after 4 weeks, nothing had changed. Rings me and says, "Well, will you come out and officially give me your honest opinion? Come and see me." It was another Friday night, and I was there till 7:30. I felt I couldn't have done any more. You know, sent him a proposal, recorded a nice video for him, dropped him a message. Thanks, David. I'm going to review it all. Get back to you. 3 days later, new pictures reduced with the same agent. Took all my advice, and then you're just like, oh. But you get that. You do get that.
Unfortunately, it's still annoying. I had another one this week, another barn conversion, and it's the barn conversion from earlier in the year that I told you all about. The guy sort of messed me around, really. And he said 2 months ago, he said, I've given them 2 months' notice. I've given them their month's notice, but I'm going to give them 2 months just to try and sell them. So I diarised 2 months exactly from the day, which was yesterday. Rang him. Hi, Gareth, how's it going? It's 2 months since you said you were giving them 2 months' notice. I just thought I'd check in and see if you've taken them off. Well, there's been a few new photographs. And I said, Gareth, do not reduce them. Whatever you do, don't reduce them. Please don't reduce them. Take them off and give them to another agent if they don't sell. So I'm going to follow up with some of Gates's data on, not why you shouldn't reduce. And he said to me, well, I just don't think it's fair, Ian, really maybe not that fair to change agents because, they've had them on and, they have suggested a few times to reduce them. I said, Gareth, they've been on since May last year and they've not gone. How is it fair? Anyway,
Well,
so, it's not all roses.
We'll come on to that because I think there's an argument to say I don't think you should ever have to change your estate agent if certain things are right. But clearly there's a lot of things wrong with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, just funny you mentioned Gatesy there. I had a meeting with him yesterday and he said, I've got a bone to pick with you. And I said, what? And he said, it was about 52 minutes before you mentioned my name last week.
That's too long.
Yeah. So Gatesy, it was 11 minutes. Ian brought you up. And by the way, great meeting with him yesterday. It's always an insightful meeting when I get together with him. So I think we're going to play some golf as well this year, Ian, if you're up for that.
Yeah, with my fingers sorted.
Oh, God. We're at the Belfry next week and Ian is coming along, but not playing because he's still got a bad finger and he's going to caddy for me. So that's going to be good.
One other thing before we get going, which I think we should title this the Northern episode, because there's going to be no soft vowels at all.
No.
In this episode, no grass or path or baths. Everything will be said properly for the whole episode.
Yes. Was it your brother that said, is that Peter Kay you're doing a podcast with?
No, he said Dave Warburton sounds and looks like he should be on Phoenix Nights.
Looks like as well.
Yeah, great. I'm sorry, mate. I think that's a compliment. Might not be.
I don't know what that means. That's great.
I think he means your name. Like Warburton.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
Bolton family, the Warburton bread family. I'm just weirdly not part of it. They're down the road from me. And
Sadly, not part of it.
I know. People often say, "Are you part of the family?" I went, "I'm valuing your house."
Yeah, I just eat the bread.
Yeah, I'm not the billionaire Warburton that owns the bread factory. Anyway, right. So let's move on to the topic of this week's podcast because it's part of our mini series. We've gone from how do you look all the way through to the point we're at now. So last week's podcast was all about you've now instructing the property, wasn't it? Getting it onto the market. I think we did. Did we talk about like pre-launches and things like that? So it was all about getting it onto the market.
Getting it on.
Yes. This week's podcast is all about client retention. So you're on the market. Not every property is going to sell in the first few weeks. Obviously, that would be fantastic. But it's not always the case. Sometimes you're trying out new prices. It may be that the client has different expectations. It might be that you have a couple of fall throughs, things don't work out, whatever it might be. There needs to be some form of client retention, doesn't there? Or a process where you are keeping in touch with your clients, etc. So we've been asked quite a few times about what we do and different techniques that we have and processes we follow. So this podcast is going to be all about that. So Ian, I'll come to you just in a second, because I think you've probably got I'd say yours is probably a bit more robust, your system. You've changed it over the last probably, 6 months or so, I would say, something like that, from what we've discussed. But before we come on to that, and I think we can both contribute here, I think the important part of client retention starts at the very beginning, because there's two things here. One, how do you look? Because if you've not done everything that you should do from a marketing point of view, then the owner can probably pick holes as to why their property might not be selling. But two, you really need to lay out and set the expectations from day one as well. And I always come back to things like the valuation. So I was when we were talking to the TCA members this week, I was kind of reiterating the fact that I personally never value a property. The market values the property. And if you can go into specific detail about how you've arrived at the valuation, and quite comprehensive detail about how you've arrived at the valuation, and you are quite clear that the market values it and the rest is subjective and down to what someone's prepared to pay, then when it comes to a conversation about price further down the line, it's a much easier conversation to have. Because if you've ticked every marketing box, like, we always say, has every single listing got a twilight shot? Have you got a video, a really professionally put together video on every single shoot? Is it all professional photography? Is your floor plan on there? Has your description been copywritten? Have you got a brochure? I always like to say to the client that you'll never be able to pull me apart on the marketing, because it will be amazing. I'll have exposed you in all the right areas, and I'm going to communicate really, really well with you. So if your house is not selling, it will only ever be a pricing issue or the market conditions. The one thing that we cannot control. So if you've set it up that way from day one, it's a much easier relationship. And I go back to the point I just made a minute ago, is I actually don't think you should ever have to change estate agent. You should never have to change estate agent if they get all those things right. And I actually even say that to people when I go out to see them. If they're on the market with another agent, you should never have to change your estate agent. So let's look at your marketing first, because 9 times out of 10, there'll be holes in the marketing anyway. So first of all, thoughts on that, Ian?
Well, that's correct. So when we book, we don't call them valuations when we first book them into the diary. We've sort of ummed and ahed about what to call them, market appraisal, anything for me other than evaluation. We call them a val in the office, between the team, but we don't outwardly call them a valuation because, as Perry would say, it's not a fucking valuation. And I think he's right. And I've learned a lot from that. So we don't call it evaluation. We actually call it a home consultation, whatever you call it. Don't call it evaluation in writing, because, people can refer back to that. When we discuss the price with them, I always say, look, I'm looking at price per square foot, obviously other properties that are sold, what buyers are paying now for this type of house. This is not me valuing your house. This is me discussing a marketing price openly with you. And it's a process of discussion between the three of us before it goes on the market. And then in our proposal, we also don't call it evaluation. So when we send them the proposal, it's a selling advice proposal, I think, for the name of the client. And then when we talk about the number, we call it a marketing price, not evaluation. So you're quite right. You should never really talk about it in terms of it being a valuation at any point, because then it's harder for them to refer back to that further down the line if it isn't selling. The other thing, as with everything you do, it's important to be as honest as possible. So we've got one at the minute where I said to him to go on at 1.1. He's gone on at 1.2. It hasn't gone. People have said it's too much or the plot's too small. And now we're having the conversation to say, they have said this. And of course, I can also say, well, I did say to you, Dave, I did say to you at the start that I think it should be 1.1. You went on it more. So it's always important to be honest, because you never know when you have to refer back to it further down the line. So I think that's very, very valid point that you made.
Yeah, I think, and obviously we don't want to go too much into the valuation thing because we've done it already in a previous pod, but it's so important because we get asked how to look after clients a lot. You know, what would you say? You're not just having the same conversations every week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But I think it's such an important point to make, because even if you've got a client right now where you know they might have been on 5-6 months if it's higher end of the market, because they don't always sell overnight, and you've not got a video tour on it, or you've not got a twilight shot. There is stuff that you could probably actually do right now with your marketing to try and change that and make sure that you it is almost backtracking a little bit, but at least you can say, right, well, we'll try this, we'll try that, and it's something else that you are doing. But to make sure that you look right from day one, and another key point, do what you said you were going to do, is really, really important. On the valuation side of it, just the final thing, I do agree. I think Perry is big on the sort of advice meeting thing, and I think he's absolutely right. It's true. It is an advice meeting or a property consultation. The only argument I would make on that is I think people universally know it as a valuation. So we do kind of book a valuation, but when I'm in the valuation itself, I will explain it isn't actually a valuation. Nobody is here to value your home. We are marketeers, really. We're here to get you the best possible price, present your home in the best possible way. The market determines the valuation. And like you, Ian, I really reiterate that in the proposal. Like, we have a section in our better proposal that says finding your marketing price. So it explains all that. Finding your marketing strategy, explaining all that. And then like an expected sales range based on what the market's telling us. But it's like we always say, it's worth what someone's prepared to pay, and your marketing and your negotiation strategy, your ability to negotiate, will get the price, really.
Yeah, that's true. It's worth what someone's prepared to pay, plus the quality of your negotiation.
Yeah.
Because people say to you quite a lot, don't they? Well, it's worth what someone's prepared to pay. And I always say, well, not completely true, because what someone's prepared to pay with us and what someone's prepared to pay with blogs estate agents is probably two different things. But obviously it's true. It's true to a degree.
Yeah,
I think you should change what you call it, Dave. I don't think you should call it evaluation.
Yeah, maybe. I just think it's universal.
I know, but people say that to me, and ours is called a home consultation, and we are stacked with vals.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think it'll hurt.
No. I just think that universally, I think people invite you out for evaluation. For me, the advice meeting or consultation is a educational process. Once you get there, I think once you're in, that's fine. So I take both points, to be fair. I absolutely agree. It's not evaluation, but
we'll argue about that later.
Absolutely. It's a good job Kendall isn't here, because he'd been there now 20 minutes. This podcast is nearly done, by the way. It's nearly finished. It's only 20 minutes in. Won't be an hour. So let's have a think about, we've got people on the market now, and should we think of a scenario? They've been on for 8 weeks and they've only had a couple of viewings, that kind of thing. What's the process looking like from your end, Ian?
Well, I'd go back to the start. So let's go back to the start. So I think it's important that you're setting expectations from the start as to when the client is going to hear from you. So in our marketing plan, we used to have a 6-week review meeting as one of the steps. So obviously we were in touch with them more than that, but we had a 6-week review meeting. So if it hadn't sold, because that was our average selling time, 6 weeks. If it hadn't sold after 6 weeks, we had a 6-week review. We have recently changed that step to a minimum weekly update from me on a Monday. We actually have it on a Monday. I wonder if it should be a Tuesday because of the feedback feedback comes in on a Monday. So maybe it should be a Tuesday. But nevertheless, we have a step in the plan that's a weekly update from me. So that weekly update takes different forms depending on how well the marketing is going. So if you've put a property on the market, it's had 20 viewings, 3 offers, you update your first and second updates are very easy, obviously. But the more time goes on, the trickier the updates get. But I have it in the plan. So that then keeps me and Phil accountable that we have to speak to every client every Monday. So that is either a Loom video where we look at the online marketing and we compare it to other properties on the market, and we look at the Rightmove stats, the YouTube stats, and we look at what viewings are booked and what feedback we've had. So it's quite an in-depth one. Some clients, we just do a WhatsApp video. Quite often it's a WhatsApp video. So I just get my phone out in front of me. I hold it in front of me. I've got the laptop screen behind my phone. as it were, and I talk to the client and I say, "Hi, John. Brilliant to see we've still got all these viewings coming in. Things are going very well as far as I'm concerned. We've got Katie in the background who's trying to sell her house, who's offered over marketing price, blah, 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 whatever it is." I send that to them. I get in the office Monday morning very early to do that. I get in the office about 7:30, 7-ish, 7:30, bang out all those updates. So before my week has started, I've updated every client before the Monday's even started.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's the odd one where that's a bit different. So some of them need a phone call. So I've got one at the minute that's got no viewings on it, which we all have from time to time, and they need a phone call. So I'll ring. I've rung them, or I've diarised to speak to them at a certain point in the week. And some of them, it's a very, very simple text. You know, it depends how well you know them, doesn't it? We've got people we've sold several houses. Well, maybe not several houses yet, but 1 or 2 houses for before. And I'm on very, very good terms with them, and I know how to speak to them. So it depends on the client. But the point is, you should be setting the expectations from the start as to when they're going to hear from you, the agent. I always say to people, I will update you minimum every Monday. On top of that, you'll hear from the team who'll be booking in viewings, getting feedback, etc., etc. But you'll hear from us at least every week.
Yeah, I like that. And to be honest, you've touched on something there. It doesn't have to be a comprehensive rundown. I think people are scared because they've not got anything to tell them. When I used to work in corporate, it was the one thing that a lot of the front-end negotiators, particularly maybe a little bit more inexperienced, hated. They absolutely hated making these calls because they were ringing up clients with nothing to tell them. But I have a rule in my office, which is if you've got nothing to tell the client, ring them up and tell them that you've got nothing to tell them, because they would rather hear from you than just have radio silence because there's nothing happening. You need to tell them something. And what I just picked up on there, Ian, was it might not be a comprehensive report on your weekly update, but there's always something. And a tip that I would give agents is there's things like Property Industry Eye, there's lots of financial news out there, Estate Agent Today. It could just be the Telegraph newspaper, whatever it is that you hook up to on a daily or weekly basis to get your news, Sky News, whatever it is, just drop a report. So it might be that interest rates have started to drop with the Halifax and they're offering a new mortgage based against, 60% deposits or something like that. You can positively post that article into somebody's WhatsApp group, and that's something else I'll come back to in a sec. But you could put that into a WhatsApp group and say, "Hi Ian, just wanted to send this report over. I thought it was quite interesting. It's a really great rate this for anybody that's got a 60% deposit. And obviously at your end of the market, Ian, there's a lot of liquidity, so this will probably apply to you. Hopefully somebody can use this and maybe it'll drive a bit of interest in the market. But it's definitely positive news. Hope you're keeping well. I'll catch up with you soon." And you'll always get a quick, thanks, Dave. I'll give that a read later or whatever. So it doesn't have to necessarily be, I've looked at your stats.
No.
20 people have clicked on your advert.
Yeah, also, I do not like Rightmove stats that say, well, they've had 100 clicks on. I always think, how many fucking viewings have you got? How many viewings have you got? Because that's what really matters, isn't it? I don't really care how many people are looking at it on Rightmove unless they're viewing it. Yeah. I know loads of people, Alex included, who is addicted to looking on Rightmove because it's a nice thing to do, isn't it? What houses are coming on, having a look at people's kitchens. It's great, isn't it? Yeah. But they're not viewing your house and they're not a prospective buyer. So I think telling clients what activities there is on Rightmove, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Dave, I just think it's bollocks.
I wouldn't say it's bollocks.
Why?
And the other thing is that
I think you say it's bollocks.
Because it is important that if your pricing point's completely out, nobody's clicking on your advert. And I think some of the metrics that Rightmove measure are important. So you can see like how you're performing against your competition. And you can also see how it's performing against your branch average and things like that. And if it's low, then it's likely to be a pricing issue, isn't it? Which we know what happens.
You don't need Rightmove to tell you that, do you?
No, you don't. But I think as well, there's a perception issue from the client, isn't there? If you're delivering, are we going to argue? Are we going to fall out?
I love it. I love it.
I think if you're delivering that news, they know that Rightmove is the biggest portal in the country. That's where most people are starting the searches. So I do think it's important that you deliver this, but offer context as well. So if you're saying, look, John, hardly anybody's clicked on your advert this week, but I wouldn't worry about it. It's probably just that you've got rid of all the people that initially look at all the new properties that I've added, like Alex, who sits at home just looking at Rightmove, according to what you just said there.
It's because I'm so boring.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to get that spike. I mean, when you look at the Rightmove report, when it first comes on the market, the spike is absolutely massive, isn't it?
Yeah, but everyone's the same, isn't it?
Yeah. So
that's why it's bollocks, I think, because they're all the same.
And then it finds its level. But I think sometimes it is interesting, and it's good to use, by the way, for getting reductions when you need them.
And it's good to show the client. I mean, when I do a Loom report, I go into Rightmove Plus and I show them the graph. And I show them how it compares to our branch average, especially if it's higher. Of course they do, because the client likes it, but I do think it's a load of bollocks.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it sounds like you're showing them the graph, though, and saying, "Hi, John, just wanted you to look at this graph. It's a complete load of bollocks, but I want you to see it anyway."
I missed that bit out.
So anyway, I think we're going to jump around a little bit here, because this is what we always do when we go off on a tangent. But just going back to the beginning a little bit, and we spoke about it last week, setting up WhatsApp groups. So I think WhatsApp groups are really, really important. Have a WhatsApp group. If you're not doing them, get them set up for you and your team. And it's so much easier to drop articles into a WhatsApp group or just send a voice note. I mean, I'm big on voice notes, much to the delight of the team members at Burton James and We Locate. They love my voice notes that go on for 4 minutes. And I think they're really good. They're really good to get points across very quickly to your vendors. I send them all the time, and they really like them.
Voice notes are great. Well, WhatsApp groups are great, first of all, because they're free. You can add everyone in. We lean on them massively now because it makes things so much more efficient. And a lot of people these days don't want a call. They're too busy. They would much prefer to send a quick WhatsApp. You can send videos. You can share documents. You've got a record of everything in writing, a public-facing, not public-facing, you know what I mean, group-facing record of everything in writing, so no one can really go back on what they've said because it's there in front of everyone. I think they're really, really, really good. You can also build a rapport with people because you can get into more personal type chats on them. And that definitely helps with client retention. Definitely helps.
It does. And I think that people value it more than just having a phone call now. I think you need to book your phone calls in. People are busy.
You do need to put your phone calls in. Definitely need to put your phone calls in. The 1.5 one that I got on the back end last week, he sold a company a couple of years ago for obviously quite a lot of money. And he's been quite clear with me. He's like, Ian, just book a call with me on Friday. Let's not play telephone tennis forever. Book a call. We'll go through this. We'll go through that. It's fine. I'd much prefer that. And it's great on WhatsApp. So WhatsApp groups are absolute gold dust, mate. Everyone should be doing them.
Totally agree. So that's one thing. And like I say, I just want to reiterate the point. It doesn't have to be. Ian obviously does his weekly check-ins, and I like the idea that it keeps him accountable. I tend to set the next expectation. So if I'm checking in with somebody on a Monday and I've done a really comprehensive report, it might be the Rightmove stats. It might be looking at the number of views that their videos had on YouTube that's linked to the Rightmove advert. I might show them some of the Facebook insights from that advert. Go through all that sort of stuff and then say, John, that is your full comprehensive report at the moment. I'll keep in touch with you. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, by the way, your house is overpriced.
Yeah, absolutely. House is massively overpriced. You're not going to get any interest for the next 30 days.
Loads of great views on YouTube, John. Facebook's going really well. The curve on Rightmove is amazing. What you really need to do is take 100 grand off, and then we'll sell it, John.
Yeah, but on a serious note, once you've had these conversations regularly, if you have set those expectations and the market has valued the house, etc., that's when you can get into price, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and that probably comes on to price feedback.
Yes, I like that one. So definitely, you should always be asking for it.
This is something we really got stuck into. Probably 18 months ago, something like that, as the market was starting to change. Yeah. So I say to the guys, if they don't want to buy it, that's when you ask for price feedback. So you don't ask for price feedback if they want to offer on it, obviously. Yeah. Because you need them to assume that whatever it's on for is the minimum that we're going to accept for it. So you ask for price feedback on everyone that isn't interested. And then we sensitively, if it needs to be sensitively, give it to the seller as early as possible in the marketing process, because we all hope it's going to sell over marketing price. we all hope that happens. If it doesn't, the written record, by the way, we put it into writing as well. So we ask for the price feedback, we then give it to the seller verbally, and then we send it in writing on the feedback report. So if in 8 weeks' time it does need a price change, we obviously lean on that to show them what the market is telling them about the price of the house. So price feedback is something we didn't used to do, but we do it all the time now, and it's invaluable if you need a price change.
Yeah, it is. It's something we've implemented as well. It is really important. I've got a tricky one at the moment where the vendor wants way too much for his house. And it was debatable whether I took it, but he'd had a couple of agents tell him even more than what we ended up listing it for. And it was kind of a happy medium for him. I know he's motivated. That's one of the reasons I took it. But I had to do a house visit, which I'll come on to in a sec. So, we'd done a few reviews already, but I booked a house visit with him, and I was able to deliver the price feedback from the 6 viewings that he'd had in like 3 months to say, look, this is where the numbers are at. And we actually got what I consider to be a very good offer, close to £1 per square foot average, etc. And he's not for taking it at the moment because he's one of these that would rather just reduce it again. He's in no rush to sell, and that's his prerogative. But the good thing is the relationship that we've got with him from day one. It was valued £1 per square foot basis and based on similar homes in the area, obviously. And the conversation, like I say, it's much easier to have.
Yeah.
You've got to be honest with your client, and I think having these conversations about, look, when we met back in November last year, we talked about £1 per square foot. This is where it's at. We've put it all in the documentation, in the proposal. We did say that if we got to March, April time, we would have a conversation about the price because, with all due respect, our marketing is standout. You've got a video, you're on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. The only thing is the market conditions. And we talked about in one of our letters, Ian, I think it was the on-market letter, last year when the market was dropping quite consistently, after we'd had the rate rises consistently as well, most areas prices started to drop. And I think one thing that we were educating our vendors on, and we did so in one of our on-the-market letters, was don't miss the boat, because if the real value price of your house is dropping at the moment and you're on higher, by the time you've reduced, you might have missed the actual value of your home and another load of buyers. So you've got to act and you've got to give this honest feedback. So the calls can't just be the Rightmove report, which, there is, I get what you're saying, and I think that there is some truth to that. But I think if you've got things like price feedback and you've had the conversation and set the expectations in the proposal, these conversations here, reporting the market conditions. So what is happening in the market? What is Nationwide saying? What is Halifax saying in real time? What's the latest land registry data saying? Just reporting these numbers, it will help them make informed decisions. And that's why you've got to be honest. And that's how you've got to deliver it.
Yes.
Get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, because your vendor, your clients will like that.
Yes,
it's in their best
honesty
interest.
is vital from the start. So, example, we've just taken a house on the market. It was on with another agent before us. We went out originally. They didn't come on with us because they said the fee was too much, and they went on with another agent, higher price, lower fee, same old story. Didn't sell. We managed to get it on at what we think is the right price. 4 viewings booked immediately. I think they all said it smelled of dog.
Yeah.
So we obviously we report with complete honesty what people tell us in feedback, and the client was pissed off. I don't think it smells of dog. And I said, well, we're only telling you what they have told us. Well, the previous agent didn't mention that, and we said, well, they've probably not been being honest with you.
Yeah,
because we don't want to offend you. But you do need to know that this is the case if you want to sell. So complete honesty, and that should then make it easier, because the other agent lost it, maybe, well, definitely because it was overpriced, but also maybe because they weren't being honest from the start, and it dragged on and it didn't sell. And if we can be honest with people at the start, with this house as an example, she can maybe wash the carpets, she can ventilate before viewings, she can, I don't know, put smelly candles on. You can do things to try and overcome it, which hopefully should make it sell, and then you don't end up losing it.
100%. You've got to be honest with your feedback. And what you've just done there is presented an opportunity for me to say, because you're no longer selling your home, you're selling your buyer's next home. So you need to present it that way.
Great
Yeah,
saying.
I know, mate. I know. So yeah, absolutely right. I think honest feedback, extremely important. Get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, because it's in the best interests of the vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, we like our stats and stuff, and we like delivering that as part of our monthly and quarterly updates. They need to know so they can make these informed decisions. But going right back to the start, if you think about it, if you've said, I think your house is worth 850,000, and then 3 months down the line, you're having to have a conversation when, oh, John, I got it wrong. It's so much more uncomfortable. And it gives them such an easy out where they can say, right, you got it wrong. They'll get the next agent in. He said, well, Ian came out and he valued it at 800,000.
Yeah, he valued it at,
Yeah. Whereas if you can say, John, we've tried it for 3 months. What I can tell you is that in your postcode area, property prices have started to drop. So I've had one this week, actually, where I've been out to visit the client. The house has been on the market for 6 months, and they put it on at a time where the property market was at its peak in this particular area. So I've got the stats, and it shows that the average house price was at its all-time high in that postcode. But since they came on the market's dropped 8%. So I'm saying, how powerful is that? So I've gone in and said, right, well, did you know that you put your house on the market in, like, say, whatever it was, September? Well, that was the peak of the market. As you can see on my graph here, it's now 8% lower. Has this been delivered back to you? No one's told me that. And it's because they valued it, not the market. So you've really got to deliver these stats. I would say, even if stats don't excite you, if you're not Simon Gates, if they don't excite you, you need to know this stuff. You need to know what your local market's doing to deliver this feedback.
Also, make sure that in your proposal after the initial value, you are detailing, how you've arrived at the marketing price, because then that's in writing and you can refer back to that further down the line. So if you have to go back and say, well, we did, that is what the market was telling us, John, that is what the market was telling us, and you can then blame it on the market, not you.
Yeah.
I think also, mate, so I don't forget to mention this, in terms of sort of keeping clients happy and, client contact and stuff. I think one key way to keep them happy is making sure that the marketing is refreshed. So one of the things another step in our marketing plan is keeping things fresh, which basically is rotating the photograph on Rightmove. But as we know, most agents don't do that, and stuff sits on for months and months, years in some cases. So make sure that you're changing the marketing, and when you've changed the marketing, make sure you let the client know. And then also on the Rightmove report, it should show a spike of interest when you change the photograph. If it does, you can report that back to show.
I thought you didn't believe in those.
Oh, I love Rightmove reports. What I said.
Yeah. Okay.
Then also seasonally updated marketing is a good thing. So, this time of year you see so many properties, don't you, that are on with other agents with snow on the ground or icy grass, and you think, come on, chaps, so get out there and retake the photographs. And as the leaves start to come on the trees, the blossom's on now, isn't it? I'm looking out my window. As the leaves start to come on the trees, you can do, if it's on the market, you can do updated marketing. So seasonally updated marketing and rotating the marketing to keep it fresh, and then making sure that you're telling the client you've done that is also another little marginal gain in this process.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know whether I made enough of it, but I would strongly recommend house visits as well. Mm-hmm. If the property's been on the market for a while, it'd be nice to go around, sit down, have a cup of tea, review the market, and almost treat it like a new valuation.
So I've got 2 of those tomorrow, Dave, where I've actively pushed for that. You don't want to. Since I've started stories, maybe once, twice. It used to happen all the time back in the old days, but I never really now get clients saying to me, "Where are we up to, Ian? What's happening? Can you come round for a chat?" That should never be happening. So the 2 that I'm going to tomorrow, I've openly gone to them and said, "Look, I think I should come for a coffee."
Yeah,
because that's in the back of my mind. I don't want to lose it to Joe Quantist agents. I want to keep them happy. So going and having a coffee is good, especially if you get on with them, because it reminds them why they chose you in the first place. You can look them in the eyes rather than on the phone,
why it's in your eyes.
Yeah.
And also having that conversation face to face, I think you're more likely to get the result that you want, which is probably a reduction in price.
Yeah.
And it's how you deliver this information. It's not always a reduction in price. It's a new pricing strategy.
Yeah.
That's another important thing. So when you're telling your vendors, if you ring somebody up and say, I think we need to reduce your price, that is a negative way of starting it, a negative way of saying it. If you ring them up and say, look, I think we need to adopt a new pricing strategy, I'm still confident in the valuation that was the market suggested. We can hopefully get to that. But the new pricing strategy will really help. What do you think? This is it. What do you think?
Yeah.
That's a much more positive way of delivering that news. And the one thing that I've found over my many, many years of estate agency is a vendor doesn't know what price they'll accept until they start actually getting offers. So, using your offers over strategy, I think, can be extremely powerful, and putting it on the right pricing points. I know we've discussed that in previous pods, so I won't dwell on that too much. But I do think it's really important take them outside the comfort zone. I often say to clients, we might need to take you outside your comfort zone, but by doing so, what it does on the flip side is present your property as an opportunity. It might look like an opportunity. So it'll get more people through the door. Hopefully that will lead to competing offers. And if it doesn't, and it sits on the market at 100,000 less for the next 3 months, Ian, what does that honestly tell you? It was never worth that in the first place. The other one that's just come into my mind, I've got somebody who was really struggling with a reduction. They've been on the market. This is on my other brand, actually. They've been on the market with another agent at 400,000. Sat there. I've gone out, and it's sadly their parents had passed away, and the house has been left to them. And it's been sat on the market for 6 months at 400. They've not had any interest, or hardly any interest. And I've gone out and looked at usual stuff, pound per square foot, market values it at, and it's 325. So, 20% less than what they're on for. And there was two of the two brothers were kind of like, it's disappointing, but we get exactly what you're saying. The sister was saying, we can't reduce 80,000. We can't reduce 80,000. And I'd say to her, you're not reducing 80,000. It was never, ever worth 400,000. It might as well have been on for $1 million. You'd have got the same result. So please, you need to try and get that out of your head. You've been given bad advice. The market suggests it's 325, and that house ended up selling for 315. So bear in mind, it was on at 400, and that'll be happening in so many areas. So it's just educating the client, And like I say, I always find that's quite a powerful line. If we can try it at 750, but offers over 7 is likely to generate more interest. It'll probably get you to a similar sort of result. And if it goes on at offers over 7 and it's still not getting the interest, what does that tell you? Now, if they turn around and say, well, you're a crap marketeer, you might have to look at your marketing. But I can confidently say, and I know you can, Ian, that every time a Burton James house or a Wheeler Cake house goes on the market, I feel it'll be difficult to beat the marketing that we do and the exposure that we give it. So I'm really confident in delivering this news. And that's why it's very beneficial to the owners.
I also think everyone, pretty much, unless you're in my area or Dave's area or James's area, has got an opportunity, and obviously there's lots of other good agents around the country, have got an opportunity here to, really stand out in their marketplace. Because still, we've been going now for 5 years and there's no one close to us on marketing, no one close to touching us on the quality of the marketing. I see and the same, I'm sure it's the same with you, with Burton James and JK. There's so many properties I see go on with other agents and the marketing is just, there's something missing. It's either not got a video, or it's not got Twilight, or the staging's not quite right, or the pricing isn't quite right. There's something isn't right about it. And it's because most agents take on too many properties because their fees are cheap. They've got to take on many more and they can't spend the time, so they can't provide the service. So so they will end up losing them. And so there's a great opportunity for most people listening to this podcast to differentiate in their marketplace, but they have to do everything the same on every property and they have to be consistent.
Yeah, we've got a client at the moment who's going through that transition, isn't he? He's sort of saying, I'm going to go back to square one. I'm going to start again. He's obviously got a brilliant mid-range brand, but he's now looking to rebrand and go after the mid to higher end. And I really take my hat off to him because I've been through it, and it's a big decision to make. But I have to say, doing it, absolute game changer. That's why
I spoke to an agent this week. Well, he's soon to be an ex-agent, actually, who I won't go into too much detail about who he is or where he is, but he's a really, really good lad. Really, really good lad. He's a good salesman. And I know he's a good estate agent, and he's closing up the next couple of weeks because he's disillusioned with the industry. And he was saying to me, "Oh, round here, mate, the fees are, they're doing it for less than 1%. I was thinking, oh, mate, that's everywhere, mate. What? And when he first started up, which is about 3 years ago, I said to him, mate, good luck with it. Come and talk to me, because he's in a different area, and he's kind of a mate and stuff. So I really want to help him. I said, come and speak to me, and I will help you do what we're doing at Storage, to differentiate and get better fees. And he didn't.
No,
he did good photographs, but he basically did what they were all doing: charge 1%, and he's closing. And he's really good. It's a real loss to the industry, and and unless you differentiate and consistently deliver something different and charge better fees and get into that mindset, you'll either just bottom feed or you might not survive. It's sad,
I totally agree, and it is a massive game changer. We had, I think I mentioned it on one of the pods, but February wasn't particularly a great month for us. And I remember when we were doing the review, I know JK was saying I've had a great month. I think you were saying, yeah, it's been a really good month, and I was looking at mine thinking, doesn't feel it. I'd gone through January and I'd been absolutely mad busy, and then February slowed down a little bit, didn't put as many houses on, and then actually when I look back at the stats, I thought, my God, we did 50 grand. And I'm like, that was a poor month in a way, which, like, if I didn't have my other brand and proposition, that month normally would have been a disaster. So I think, again, for me, having been through it, I know we've all had slightly different journeys with the setup, yourself and me and JK, but ultimately we've got to the same place. Mine was a completely separate brand to complement my other brand, and it's been an absolute game changer for me. And I'd highly recommend anybody who's struggling with a mid-range brand and thinks, do you know what, I don't want to, it's a good cash flow business, or I really like it, I want to keep my foot, my hand in with that, and I want to keep doing it, then I would honestly speak to me. I'll happily advise. It's been a real game changer for us and the team, and we all love it. So yeah, but there's another guy as well. I was just going back to Twilights and going the extra mile. So I'll give him a shout out. Steve Carroll. I think Steve Carroll is just brilliant. He implements everything. He's getting some amazing results at the moment. And I had he did a post, I think, the other day where he'd said just sold this amazing house, and he used the his Twilight shot as the main shot to say. Yeah. So I messaged him saying it just looks amazing. Please don't let these standards drop, because we're going to come into summer, and as soon as you get to summer and Twilight's 10:30, that's when you can really stand out. And I remember doing lives in back gardens last year at 10:30. And it's just a game changer. I think it's really, really good. So
there aren't many that will have that level of consistency. So I go back to what I said before, that you've really got an opportunity here to stand out, but you have got to be consistent, and you've got to be brave to turn away the wrong type of house and the wrong fee.
Brave. Oh, what a great way of putting it. Great way of putting it.
Because it'll pay off.
Just another thing that's coming to my mind, and it was just before I left the office earlier on, I said to a member of the team, Kate, I said, is there anything else that you can think of that we do that's a bit different? And she's been listening to the podcast, and she'd said that something had resonated with yourself, Ian, when you said the other week where you, when you're making notes in evaluation, which we all do very similarly, you might note someone's birthday down if they said, oh, we can't this week, or we've got a graduation on Friday for our son. And you'll check in on that Friday saying, how did the Jet graduation go? And Kate was saying, we do that in the office quite regularly, which I love. I take that for granted, I think, because I just know that they're brilliant at it. But whenever there's a birthday or anything like that, if they've caught up with a vendor and they've said, oh, yeah, thanks for the update, Kate, or thanks for booking the viewing, Kate. And they might say, she might just get into the conversation, just have a chat. Have you got any plans this week? And like, yeah, well, it's my birthday on Friday, so we're all out for a meal or whatever. She'll make a note of it and just drop a message on Friday saying, just wait till we have a birthday. I love that. It's brilliant, isn't it? And that's just another layer to your offering as an estate agent. That's probably not even a process. That's just adopt good practices. Mm-hmm. So take an interest in your clients. It's another thing without actually booking in a call. Do you know when there's a birthday? Do you know? Are you having nice conversations, building rapport, and just dropping little things in like that? I thought that was a really good thing.
Really good. Yeah, we send them cards. Maybe a little gift, depending how well the relationship has gone with the client. But cards are great, aren't they? And they're so low cost, but they mean so much to people, especially people of a certain generation who've got all the nicer houses to sell. They appreciate a handwritten card. Massively.
We're actually doing a bit of a campaign I've not done before, something a little bit different. We always like to keep in touch with the vendors in some different ways, but it had been suggested this year we'll send out Easter eggs to the vendors that are on the market for their kids. So the ones that we know have got kids, we're going to send that out as a nice little touch point, which I quite like. Yeah, it's little things like that makes people
writing it down.
Yeah, it's a pretty inexpensive thing to do, but you can imagine if they get that little parcel on the doorstep saying from everybody at Team Stories, everybody at Burton James, hope you have a great Easter. It's a nice little touch point, isn't it? Yeah. So you can add these little things. Yeah, I think we've gone through quite a lot there, Ian. Is there anything that you think we've missed or you want to go through?
No, I think that we've been through everything that I wrote down before we came on.
Yeah, well, hopefully people can take stuff from it, and we do things very similarly, and I think a lot of it, like I say, comes from right back to the beginning, setting the expectations. How do you look? Is your marketing on point, etc. But then just having regular conversations, being honest.
I think we covered everything. There's a few things I just wrote down just to sort of mention as well, which we got a couple of comments from people who didn't actually know that we offer a paid for subscription where we share all of our content with people. So get in touch if you've got any questions about that. We have a monthly Zoom, as Dave mentioned before, with every member where we all jump on a Zoom and talk about all our challenges. We've just booked our first mastermind. So we're having a quarterly in-person mastermind in Birmingham. That's the 5th of June. So we made it in Birmingham because it's central for everyone in the country to get to. And the next quarterly update letter will be going to all of our clients within the next 3 weeks. So before the end of the first week in April. So if you're interested in getting the results that we get and your postcode is available, then get in touch. It'll be a good time in the next couple of weeks to get in touch because of the quarterly update. And that quarterly update, we'd have to check in at how many millions of pounds worth of properties it's got us into, Dave, wouldn't we? But I bet we're knocking on for 100 million pounds.
Oh, easy. Yeah, easy. I had a phenomenal result with the New Year one. So we do, obviously it's a quarterly update letter. We do 4 a year. The end of year one is kind of ready just before Christmas because we like it to land between Christmas and New Year ideally, or maybe first week of January, and that's kind of a review of 2023 or a review of the previous year. It's a brilliant time to be sending it out because people are making decisions in January, and it led to a load of valuations, which is amazing. Ian, I know you had an amazing Q3, but essentially, we send them out. What is it? April is the first one this year, which will review Q1. We've been waiting for the budget, and the reason that we've not spent much time discussing that is because it was a bag of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Not really anything worthwhile, but it'll be in there. But it's as you were, isn't it? But so we're doing that. Like I say, Ian has touched on it there. We've got the quarterly mastermind coming up. Really looking forward to that in Birmingham, and we've got the monthly Zooms. I just really enjoy those. Getting everybody a Zoom call, just having a catch up with everybody and seeing how they get on. And of course, we have the private WhatsApp group as well, Ian. Where people share their issues and share their success stories. It's a great community of really good agents. So if you are interested and your postcode is available, we'd love to chat to you. If you've picked up on anything in this podcast, reach out, drop us a message privately if you want, and we can have a chat about that.
One thing we're going to start to do, isn't it, especially as the members grow, is use, even the three of us will do it, is use the Complete Agent network of agents selling higher end homes to compete against the likes of Savills and Jackson Stopps, who have obviously national and international network of offices.
Yes.
So we're going to start to, we're certainly going to start to put that in our marketing plan. When we get to, I know we're over 10 members now, aren't we? As we get to sort of 20, 30 members, I'm going to start to put that into my marketing plan to have, to use it really, to show that we're connected nationally. I think it's important, especially when you're selling the higher end. to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. But yeah, good to finish on that. I think if anybody has got any questions, interested in joining, or just wants further information, please do reach out. It's not just about us three. We've got some great members. And like I say, I'm actually really looking forward to that quarterly update. But if that's all we've got, I think we'll bring it to a close because it's my birthday today and I'm going for a haircut.
You need it.
I do need it. Ridiculous. But there you go. Right. Good chatting to you, Ian.
Always.
JK, get well soon, buddy. And we'll look forward to welcoming you back on the podcast next week. But for now, to everybody listening, thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.